touch is so important. Everything is so digital now that when I hand somebody some of my work that I've made, it's really surprising how excited they are to touch it and to feel it and to interact with it. And so for me, it is really playing around with these ideas of surprise and just letting the viewer be the person who gets to control how things work, how things move, how they interact with it. To me, that's really the most exciting part. My name is Simon Arizpe, paper engineer. I'm the fall 2024 artist in residence here at Zion National Park. With paper engineering, it's always just figuring out how to take something that exists and then turn it into paper, transform it into a pop-up book. It's pretty basic. A friend of mine describes it as a very humble medium because it's really just like tape, cardstock, scissors, glue, and it's like kind of me figuring out ways to kind of bring about kind of the story I want to tell, playing around with these ideas of like the structure and the energy and the form that kind of make it exciting for the viewer. Like I always kind of have to have the viewer in mind. What do they want? What are they going to expect when they see this? How do I like kind of subvert their expectations so that it's always surprising, it's always interesting when they see it? What I'm trying to do is make a pop-up map of the whole park. Because the canyon is so kind of straightforward and kind of just moves in one direction, I really wanted to play around with this idea of how do you translate that into this pop-up form and like let the kind of the river and the way the river is kind of going through the space be what tells you, you know, how this map would work. It was fully falling in love with the canyon and going out on these runs every morning. And the map was really not giving me the information I wanted. I was like, oh, well, there's Angel's Landing? Okay, that, you know, this little blip on a map. And so I wanted to play around with like, how do I make that bigger? How do I showcase why people are here? And so to me, that made sense to do. For me, the big challenges end up being deciding what in a push and pull gets, you know, first dibs of like existing in the space. I would say with like the emerald pools, there is this idea of like the negative space and using the structure to create kind of these boundaries and these forms and using kind of figuring out like what energy is required to create that shape. I really want to get all the way to the Narrows. That such originality of the Narrows, like I just feel like there is nothing quite like this like crazy slot canyon and everyone's trying to get in there. And there is just such a sense of like encompassing and squeezing to it. So I played around with the idea of a tunnel book. And so that is kind of this idea of something that moves like an accordion shape, which I felt like was the best incarnation of that. The location of the grotto house is such that at night you're totally alone, and then in the daytime you are surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people. And so trying to figure out a way to weave that in and weave that into this project. And so I think what I want to do is, when I'm done with it, really paint it a really beautiful kind of subtle colors. And then the way I'm going to showcase the people is just find some like really bright colored, like neon golden metallic thread and weave that into kind of the trails and let that be kind of how the people are shown. Letting the like subtleties of these like crazy sandstone formations and these crazy oranges that I'm trying to capture be one thing, and then the people be this other kind of flash in the pan, bright colored thing that is so different, but the two are trying to live together. People get really nervous when they touch a pop-up book, like they think they're gonna break it, and so for me it is allowing people to have that relationship where they can really kind of pull things apart, figure things out. And then with my art and the art that I put onto the pop-ups, it's really just making sure that it tells the story in the right way. You know, there's so many different art styles I can use, but employing the one that I think is the most exciting for kind of the story that I'm trying to tell. The nature around here is just incredible. Like everything has been kind of overwhelming, honestly. It's just like so beautiful, and trying to take it in has been kind of crazy. I'm not gonna be able to do everything justice, but I will be like honest with it. Oh my God, I'm totally gonna miss this place. I think the reason Zion is such a great candidate for a pop-up book is that it's just it's so iconic. There really is nothing like kind of the beauty and the specificity of this area. Like I've really cherished every night of just like being here in this space has been really special and very precious.